Hey everybody, Ema Cooney here and welcome back to my kitchen. I hope everybody is having a fantastic day because we are going to be making snowball cookies, often colloquially referred to as Russian snowballs, wedding cookies, or Mexican wedding cookies. So go ahead and get your oven preheating to 325 degrees Fahrenheit, the rack placed in the center position of the oven, and we'll go ahead and take a look at just what ingredients we're going to need to make these. 1 cup softened unsalted butter, which is the equivalent of 2 sticks of butter. Aside from the typical method of placing it on your countertop the night before to soften, you can also place it in your microwave. I only suggest doing this in 5-second increments, checking after each turn by gently pressing into the butter to see if it's just started to soften, and looking around the packaging because you don't want it to actually start melting. 1/4 cup of sugar. Here I use raw cane sugar, however your standard white granulated sugar also works just fine. 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. 2 cups of all-purpose flour, sifted. 2 cups of pecans chopped into small bits. You can use your food processor, a plastic bag, and a mallet, or if none of the above, you can always use a chef knife to rough chop them down. And finally, powdered sugar for dusting the snowballs once they have finished baking and slightly cooling. If your pecans did not come pre-chopped, as mine have not, we're going to want to go ahead and take care of that first. Personally, I will be using my food processor to do the job, but if you do not have one, you can always use a plastic bag and hammer them down with a mallet, or use your chef knife to chop them down. Okay. You do not want these to basically turn into pecan dust, so stop when you have a nice small chop around, as you can see here. With the pecans now chopped down, it's time to cream together the butter and sugar. Make sure you have the paddle attachment on your KitchenAid. Always remember to lock it in place, and then go to about medium speed. When creaming butter and sugar, you do want to make sure that the sugar is completely incorporated into the butter. So if you have a spatula handy, as I do, go ahead and scrape down the sides now. And we'll go ahead and cream them together one more time afterwards. Next, we want to get the vanilla extract mixed in, so go ahead and just pour that in. Make sure your mixer is still locked, and again, set it to medium speed. Go ahead and scrape the sides again. And now it's time to add the flour. I actually prefer to add my flour using a spoon as opposed to gradually pouring it in. It helps make less of a mess, and it allows the flour and butter to incorporate more easily instead of just sort of dumping in, making a giant poofy cloud of flour, and then it just sort of being kind of a mess everywhere. So that is how we are going to proceed. Go ahead and have your mixer set to just below medium and add a spoonful of flour at a time. And it's now time to add in the pecans. You can go ahead and just pour them right on in. And turn your mixer on a low speed and gradually build up to medium speed so nothing flies out of the mixer bowl. Okay. And what we have here is the dough for the snowball cookies. Go ahead and clean it all off your paddle. Scrape down your sides. And we're going to get ready to make these into ball shapes so that they can bake in the oven. Next up, we're going to be forming the dough into balls for baking, and my preferred method of doing so is an ice cream scoop. Preferably, I believe this is a 1-inch ice cream scoop. It tends to keep them all nice uniformly in size so that they actually bake more evenly. I will say if you do have any rings on, I would suggest removing them to keep any of the dough from getting into the nooks and crannies. Go ahead and scoop one into your hand. Roll it up a bit, doesn't need much, and place it on a parchment lined cookie sheet. All right, they are all done. This is 5, 10, 15, 16, 17, 18 cookies right here. You could have maybe one more, maybe one less. It really depends on the size of your ice cream scoop. So with these all set, we're gonna bake them in the oven at, like I said, 325 degrees Fahrenheit for 20 minutes. Because I do have an electric oven, I actually like to turn them once halfway through, so at the 10-minute point, to ensure that both the cookies near the front and the cookies near the back do get an even bake amongst all of them. The cookies have now baked for 20 minutes, and I went ahead and pulled them out of the oven and off of the metal cookie sheet they were on to prevent the bottoms from continuing to cook. I also set up the area for the powdered sugar, which includes a wire rack with either another cookie sheet beneath or a piece of parchment to catch any loose powdered sugar and contain the mess some. You do want to allow the cookies to cool for about a minute or two so they're cool enough to be able to handle. And go ahead and grab one and set it inside of your powdered sugar and very carefully dust it around. These tend to be rather fragile cookies, especially when they first come out of the oven, but you do need them to be warm enough for the powdered sugar to stick to them. So carefully just pour the sugar on top of it, shake it around, just be careful with them, because if you do break one in the powdered sugar right now, you will essentially have to throw out the sugar because there's going to be cookie crumbs all in it. I actually used to do this with a plastic Ziploc bag with sugar in it, and I actually found that I broke a couple cookies each time I tried to do it in that method, and so changed to this just because I kept more control over the cookie without breaking them. So just go ahead and do that for each cookie, placing it on the wire rack until all of them have their first coating of powdered sugar. All right, and that is the second coating. From here, you basically just want to let them sit and completely cool, maybe 10-15 minutes tops, until they're ready to eat. If you want to add a third coating of powdered sugar, you are of course more than welcome to do so. Just a couple of tips though. Again, if you do have any rings on, I would suggest taking them off so that you don't get the powdered sugar all up in them. And the second thing is if you have nails. Kind of be careful when you're doing this so that you don't accidentally jab the cookie with your nail. At best you could take a chunk of the cookie off and you're good to go to still powder it. At worst, you'll end up having the cookie fall apart inside the powdered sugar, and you have to toss the whole bowl of sugar and start with fresh sugar. So just a couple of tips there from personal experience, by the way. So again, we're going to go ahead and let these sit for about 10-15 minutes and they'll be good to eat. And now that the cookies have had a chance to cool fully, you can go ahead and see the powdered sugar is coated all the way around them. And we'll go ahead and cut into one and have a look inside. As I mentioned, these cookies are pretty fragile, so it is easier to just go ahead and take a bite out of one. But you can see all of the little pecan pieces in there. You'll get a little bit of pecan in every single bite. Another really great thing about these cookies is that if you do have any friends or family who have a nut allergy, it's very simple to just don't put any nuts in. The only thing you'll miss is that pecan flavor and the crunch from the actual nut itself. But the cookie itself is very nice, crumbly butter type of cookie, and then you have the wonderful powdered sugar coating the outside of it. So again, if you have any friends or relatives with nut allergies, just go ahead, omit the nuts, and do the rest of the procedure as listed. All right, let's go ahead and have a taste. One word of caution, don't inhale when you eat the cookie because of the powdered sugar. Just saying, it's happened. So for a cookie that tends to appear very crumbly, it's actually it's nice and soft inside. The crunch of the pecans isn't a hard crunch. It's just a nice soft crunch that's added to it. The powdered sugar, of course, gives a nice sweetness to the outside. You have a nice, smooth, buttery flavor in there. Just a hint of vanilla. And the oils from the pecans themselves also add just a nice smoothness to the cookie that you may not anticipate for how crumbly they actually tend to appear when either baking or enjoying one. So guys, that is the snowball cookie. As I said, it is also known as a Russian snowball, a Mexican wedding cookie. I think I have powdered sugar on my lips. Or a wedding cookie. Enjoy them with or without pecans. Both taste absolutely fantastic. And on that note, you guys have yourselves again a beautiful day, and I'll see you next video and also on my Twitch channel. Have a beautiful day, guys. See ya. I have some powdered sugar here in a bowl already. So you just want to take one, toss it in there, and then just sort of lightly move it around. And you want to fully coat the cookie and not break it.